All right, Dub Nation, buckle up because this Jonathan Kaminga contract saga is starting to feel like one of those TV shows that somehow always ends the episode with a cliffhanger, and we're all just stuck here waiting for the next twist. Every week, it seems like there's a fresh report, a new rumor, or a different angle, but when you zoom out, the same tension is still hanging in the air. The Golden State Warriors and Kaminga's camp are locked in what can only be described as an extended staring contest, and neither side seems eager to blink first. With the qualifying offer deadline creeping up on October 1st, the pressure is officially on. Here's the situation in plain terms. The Warriors still have a 2-year, $45 million offer sitting on the table for Kaminga. It's essentially a 1-year deal worth around $21 million, with a team option for the second year. That structure means very little guaranteed money, and it also means Kaminga would need to waive the no-trade clause that comes with it. From Golden State's perspective, that's a safety net. They don't want to commit long-term money without flexibility. But from Kaminga's side, that no-trade clause is non-negotiable. He doesn't want to risk being shipped somewhere mid-season without control over his future. And that's where the standoff begins. Now, Kaminga's camp has been floating what feels like their biggest bargaining chip, the qualifying offer. For those who don't live and breathe the collective bargaining agreement, the qualifying offer here would be worth $7.9 million. It's a 1-year deal that would allow Kaminga to hit unrestricted free agency next summer and take full control of his next move. It would also give him a no-trade clause for the entire year. On paper, that sounds like a freedom play, but it's also risky. Passing up an extra $14 million in guaranteed money this season with zero assurance he'll land a big contract in the summer of 2026. The Warriors see that as the doomsday scenario because it strips them of the ability to trade him for value, which means they could lose a $20 million level asset for absolutely nothing next offseason. So what's holding everything up? Part of it is history. Kaminga believes he's an all-star caliber player, a franchise-building block, and he wants to be treated and paid like one. When he finally got an expanded role early last season, he was putting up multiple 30-point games, showing flashes of exactly that kind of ceiling. But then came the ankle injury in January, which sidelined him for over 2 months. During his absence, Golden State pulled off a blockbuster at the trade deadline, bringing in Jimmy Butler. The fit after that was, frankly, awkward. Butler isn't a floor spacer, Draymond isn't a floor spacer, and defenses started loading up on STEPH Curry with little fear of the other shooters. Kaminga struggled to find his place, got benched late in the season, and even had a moment where he seemed to freeze Curry out in a game against Portland. That led to multiple DNPs, including the play-in game and most of the first-round series. When Steph went down in the second round, Kaminga was thrown back into the rotation and put up numbers, but Golden State wasn't competitive in those games, which only added to the complicated evaluation. Off the court, there's been tension too. Kaminga and Steve Kerr's relationship hasn't been the smoothest, and it's no secret Kaminga has been open to a fresh start elsewhere if his role isn't going to grow. His camp has been hoping for a sign-and-trade all summer. The Heat, Bulls, Kings, and Suns all kicked the tires, but none of those talks gained traction. Miami filled its need with Norman Powell. Chicago made moves for Isaac Okoro and Noah Clowney. Sacramento reportedly offered something in the range of 4 years and $90 million, but refused to part with their prized young pieces like Keegan Murray. In Phoenix, well, their asset cupboard is about as bare as it gets. The Warriors didn't find anything close to the return they'd want for a young talent they still value. So those conversations have been shut down for now. That leaves us with a deadlock. Golden State won't sweeten the deal. Kaminga won't waive the no-trade clause. And the qualifying offer looms like a storm cloud on the horizon. If he takes it, he's essentially betting on himself to stay healthy, perform at a high level, and cash in big next summer. If he doesn't, he has to accept a deal that gives the Warriors the flexibility to move him if they see fit. It's a classic gamble versus security situation, with the added wrinkle of how awkward things could get if he's back in the locker room on a 1-year rental. And while all of this has been going on, Kaminga hasn't even been stateside until recently. He was playing in Afrobasket exhibition games for the Republic of Congo before quietly disappearing from their final roster announcement. That likely means he's back in Miami training for the season, which also means negotiations could heat up now that he's physically closer to the team's decision-makers. But heat up doesn't necessarily mean move forward. This thing has been stuck in neutral for weeks, and no one's sure if either side is willing to make the first real concession. Behind the scenes, Joe Lacob's stance has been consistent. He said he sees Kaminga as an all-star level talent and has resisted trading him for packages he doesn't believe match that value. That makes it hard to imagine him letting Kaminga walk for nothing. But at the same time, Lacob and the front office are dealing with salary cap gymnastics, luxury tax thresholds, and a reality that they need tradable contracts if they want to make mid-season improvements for one last championship push with Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy. It's all building toward a tense September, with a staring contest could drag on until the very last week before the October 1st deadline. Some league insiders think the Warriors might eventually call Kaminga's bluff, betting that he won't risk leaving that much guaranteed money on the table. Others believe Golden State will have to tweak their offer, maybe not to the 3-year, $82 million range Kaminga's camp has floated, but enough guaranteed money to make him feel secure. Either way, the clock is ticking, and the next few weeks are going to determine whether this relationship can be patched up or if the bridge is already halfway burned. And here's the kicker. Whether Kaminga signs the qualifying offer or takes the Warriors deal, all signs still point to him being on the roster when the season tips off. That means both sides have a vested interest in keeping things as smooth as possible in the short term. The problem? Smooth isn't exactly how you describe this negotiation so far. The whole Kaminga situation has taken on the feel of a chess match where both players have their next 3 moves mapped out, but neither is in any hurry to put a piece forward. Golden State's 2-year, $45 million offer is still sitting there, unchanged. Kaminga's side is still holding the qualifying offer in their back pocket as leverage. Every conversation, every update from insiders circles back to the same reality. Neither party has budged, and the standoff has become as much about principle as it is about money. From Kaminga's perspective, it's about more than the numbers on the contract. It's about trust, opportunity, and control over his career. He sees himself as a player who should be featured, not marginalized. He's had flashes of brilliance when given the freedom to operate, and he believes those flashes are proof that he can be a focal point somewhere. If Golden State won't commit to giving him that role, then he doesn't want to be tied to them without the ability to dictate where he plays next. That's why the no-trade clause is so important to him. It's his insurance policy against being sent to a situation he doesn't want mid-season. This deadlock would be complicated enough if it existed in a vacuum, but the backdrop makes it even more tangled. The Warriors are in win-now mode with Steph Curry still playing at a high level, Jimmy Butler now in the fold, and Draymond Green anchoring the defense. That means every roster spot and every contract slot matters for both this season's push and the flexibility to adjust on the fly. A $20 million salary slot, like the one Kaminga could occupy, is a major tool in mid-season trades. Lose that by letting him take the qualifying offer, and it's gone for good next summer. That's why insiders keep calling it a nightmare scenario for the front office. It's not just losing the player, it's losing the asset value. While this has played out, there have been flickers of outside interest. We know Miami, Chicago, Sacramento, and Phoenix have all at least explored the idea of acquiring Kaminga. The problem is that the mechanics of a deal are brutal. Any sign-and-trade requires salary matching, and because of Kaminga's base-year compensation rules, the Warriors can only take back half of what his first-year salary would be. That eliminates a lot of potential frameworks right out of the gate. Add in Golden State's reluctance to move players like Buddy Hield and Moses Moody, 2 guys they see as important rotation pieces and locker room glue, and the options narrow even further. The most intriguing wrinkle came when Jake Fisher mentioned the Bulls. He floated the idea that if Chicago manages their cap space carefully, they could have room to make a big push for Kaminga next summer if he hits unrestricted free agency. He also revealed that Golden State has genuine interest in Josh Giddey, a player they strongly considered drafting in 2021 before Oklahoma City scooped him up at number 6, leaving the Warriors to take Kaminga at 7. Both teams had those 2 players pegged to go 6th and 7th in some order, and there's still admiration in the Bay for Giddey's passing, ball handling, and finishing ability. But again, The pathway to a deal now is nearly impossible with the salary rules in place and the Warriors unwilling to include other key pieces. It's the kind of scenario that might be revisited in a year or two, but not in the current landscape. As for Kaminga himself, his offseason hasn't been a quiet retreat into negotiations. He was in action for the Republic of Congo during Afrobasket exhibitions, proudly representing his country before stepping away and missing the final roster cut. That absence, intentional or not, has brought him back stateside, reportedly working out in Miami. Being closer could allow for more face-to-face discussions, but whether that proximity changes anyone's stance remains to be seen. This is a negotiation where both camps know the stakes, both have their lines drawn, and neither is eager to blink. Golden State's owner Joe Lacob has repeatedly made it clear that he values Kaminga highly, calling him an all-star level talent and rebuffing offers that don't match that view. That's part of what makes this so fascinating. Lacob doesn't want to lose Kaminga for nothing, yet his organization is also drawing a hard line that might push Kaminga toward the very outcome they fear. It's a classic example of two priorities colliding: protecting asset value and controlling payroll flexibility. In the meantime, time is ticking toward that October 1st deadline. Most around the league believe this will drag well into September, maybe right down to the final days before a decision has to be made. There's no sign of urgency from either side right now, which is why it's easy to imagine this turning into a late-game sprint after weeks of slow play. The risk for the Warriors is that in a high-stakes standoff like this, waiting too long can force you into a bad corner. The risk for Kaminga is betting on himself only to see the market dry up or his role diminish, hurting his leverage when it matters most. Layered on top of all this is the Warriors' other offseason subplot, Al Horford. Anthony Slater reported that Horford is comfortable waiting to make his decision, with retirement still on the table. The Warriors, however, are operating as if he's part of their plan for next season. If Horford were to retire after the Warriors made him a key free agent target, it would be another gut punch to a front office already juggling the Kaminga mess. Losing a veteran piece they were counting on, while also staring down the possibility of losing Kaminga's trade value, could make for a truly disastrous offseason in the Bay. And so, we sit in the middle of August with nothing resolved, every possible outcome still on the board, and the sense that whatever happens here will have ripple effects for years. If Kaminga stays and the relationship improves, maybe he grows into the star he believes he is, and the Warriors keep their bridge to the future intact. If things sour and he leaves for nothing, it could go down as one of the most frustrating losses of an asset in recent memory for the franchise. And if they trade him midseason, it will almost certainly be in pursuit of one last deep playoff run with the current core, a gamble that could define the latter years of the Curry era. The story isn't over yet, and the twist could come fast once one side decides to finally make a move. Until then, this is a staring contest, a waiting game, and a reminder that in the NBA, the off-court maneuvering can be just as dramatic and just as important as anything that happens between the lines. The next chapter is coming. The only question is who will write it first. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Dubs updates. Let's keep going. Golden State Warriors insiders are buzzing this week after whispers emerged about a tense locker room moment involving Stephen Curry and Jonathan Kaminga. According to people close to the situation, Curry, typically the calm leader and voice of reason for the team, allegedly let his frustration spill over after a recent practice. The reigning face of the franchise reportedly told teammates, in no uncertain terms, that we only want athletes who are fully committed. While no direct quotes have been officially confirmed, multiple accounts suggest that the statement was aimed squarely at Kaminga, who has been the subject of questions surrounding his consistency and focus. This rare display of public-like criticism from Curry, who normally addresses concerns behind closed doors, has ignited speculation about the Warriors' internal chemistry and whether the franchise could be heading toward a difficult decision regarding one of its most promising young players. For fans, the idea of Curry speaking out in such a pointed way is both surprising and telling, adding fuel to the ongoing debate about whether Golden State can balance its pursuit of championships with the development of emerging talents whose dedication is still under the microscope. If the rumors are true, this could mark a significant turning point in the dynamic between Curry and the younger generation of Warriors. Curry, now in the twilight of his prime years, has openly emphasized the importance of urgency, discipline, and maximizing every opportunity to contend for another championship. Those close to the organization believe his alleged criticism of Kaminga might be less about personal feelings and more about setting a standard, one that he feels is non-negotiable if the Warriors are to remain competitive in a rapidly improving Western Conference. Yet, it's precisely this kind of high-stakes environment that can create tension between veterans and rising stars, especially if the latter feel their growth is being overshadowed by win-now pressure. Some observers see this as a classic clash of timelines. A legend who wants to cement his legacy and a prospect still navigating the steep learning curve of the NBA. Whatever the underlying motivation, the whispers suggest that this was not a fleeting outburst, but a deliberate statement intended to send a message to the entire roster, not just one player. Around the league, executives and analysts are watching closely, speculating on what this tension could mean for Golden State's future roster moves. If Curry's comments reflect a broader sentiment within the locker room, it's possible the Warriors' front office could explore trade options for Kaminga before the situation escalates. While trading such a talented, athletic young player would be risky, especially given his potential ceiling, the organization has historically prioritized players who fit their culture over raw promise alone. This philosophy was evident in past decisions, from roster reshuffles to rotation tightening during playoff runs. The idea of moving Kaminga now, while his value is still high, has already made its way into talk radio debates and social media threads. Yet, others argue that such a move could backfire, pointing to instances where young players, once doubted, blossomed into stars elsewhere. The uncertainty around whether the alleged Curry-Kaminga friction is exaggerated or grounded in truth only adds to the intrigue, making it one of the more compelling behind-the-scenes storylines of this NBA season. Of course, the Warriors' official stance remains predictably cautious. When asked about any potential friction, team representatives downplayed the reports, describing the locker room as focused and united in pursuit of their goals. Curry himself, known for controlling his public image meticulously, avoided direct acknowledgement of the rumored exchange, instead offering vague but polished comments about holding everyone accountable and maintaining high standards. Kaminga, for his part, appeared unfazed in interviews, smiling through questions and insisting he's committed to improving every aspect of his game. Still, those who follow the team closely note subtle cues, the body language on the bench, the distribution of minutes, and the energy in huddles that seem to hint at underlying tension. In professional sports, where perception often influences reality, such whispers can quickly take on a life of their own, shaping narratives in ways that affect both the players' mindsets and the organization's decision-making. Whether this situation truly reflects a brewing conflict or simply the natural friction of a competitive environment remains an open question, but the speculation is only intensifying with each passing game. Fans, meanwhile, are split down the middle. Some see Curry's alleged remarks as the tough love necessary to push Kaminga toward his full potential, citing the value of having a future Hall of Famer demand excellence from a rising star. Others interpret the rumored confrontation as an unnecessary public slight that could alienate a young player still adjusting to the NBA spotlight. Social media platforms have become battlegrounds for these differing viewpoints, with highlight reels, practice footage, and past interviews being dissected for hidden meaning. Longtime Warriors supporters, who have witnessed the team's evolution from lottery regulars to dynasty champions, understand that success often comes with internal challenges, but even they admit this particular rumor carries a different weight because of who is involved. Stephen Curry's leadership has always been defined by inspiration rather than confrontation, so the idea of him detonating on a teammate is not easily dismissed. Whether this proves to be a mere blip in the season or the spark of a larger story, the only certainty is that the NBA rumor mill will keep spinning, and all eyes will remain on the Bay Area to see what unfolds next. Stay updated exclusively with the latest Dub Nation news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep getting daily updates on the Warriors. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your input is essential for the Dubs community. Stay tuned for the next video.